are there, again, is it, obviously to some degree it's personal preference and depends on me and my personality and such, but are there certain things that people can do to improve are there tips you can give to improve the comfort and energy of their home through aroma?
One of the simple little tricks is when you walk into a home, if you sort of come right on in and you bump into the back of the sofa, that's considered in Feng Shui a very unfriendly position for the sofa. Many people also have their sofa. Now, this is more of a design trick, but they have their sofa in what I would call the runway. Like, that's your passway from, it's like the hallway on down, and then put the sofa right in the middle of it. Makes absolutely no sense to me. So, can't do that. And speaking of the sofa, when it's nasty, it's time to either reupholstering is a hard thing because it's often expensive. You're better off to find a happy new sofa on sale at a estate sale. Lots of ways to perk up without spending a whole lot of money. People also have their bedding always drives me crazy. Bedding is generally they don't pay much attention to it. Many folks have bedding at this stage from 30 years ago when they were in the college dormitory. It should be clean and fresh. The bedroom's the most sacred room of the house. So when your bedroom is a quasi gym, office, and children's playground, and P.S., you're trying to have a healthy adult relationship in there, it's very challenging.
Well, they even say you shouldn't go to bed with your computer or your smartphone next door because even that blue light makes a difference.
No electricity around your head. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who are insisting on falling asleep with the laptop on your tummy and the TV at your feet, you're a walking time bomb of trouble.
Uh-oh.
It's very problematic because it's frying your energy field subtly and insidiously, very slowly. Your bedroom is for two things, to get restored and energized or to go and fall in love again and again with your partner. That's what it's for.
I have an interesting thought based on personal experience. One of the things I like to do before bed is read. I like to read and, a little bit before bed every night pretty much. Mm-hmm. And up until recently, of course, reading meant reading a book. Now, reading means reading on a Nook or Kindle. I'm still reading a book, but it is now an electronic book. And there are different varieties of those, of course, out there. But does that create any kind of issue? What's your feeling on A, reading, and B, when that reading is electronic?
Well, reading, I have to agree with you. It's a sort of a gentle, relaxing mode, unless you're reading some, suspense horror story or something. But reading can be good. However, that being said, we're all going to bed way too late. If you're not sound asleep before midnight, your system can't adjust well the next day. So we're staying up too late, and that's partially due to the idea that we have electricity. You're supposed to go to bed really closer to when the sun goes down and get up
with the chickens
prior to the sun coming up. But we've lost all that in this country. As far as a Kindle goes, I don't know the EMFs that it's putting out. My physical response to it is, I wouldn't do it. I see my body like pulling from it. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned book. The less electronics you have in that bedroom, not only the longer you will live, but the healthier. Your brain will be sound and solid. That's why we're seeing an increase in brain tumors. All this stuff coming at us.
Remember, they did say about cell phones years ago not to have it on your ear for a long time. I think maybe we've gotten past that, but that it sends out those waves, some kind of sound waves that's not good for us, for sure.
Good. And I know many people can't seem to now, well, they've become addicted to it. They can't fall asleep with the TV unless the TV's blaring at them. And they don't want to hear it. I'll go into the home and I'll see the TV in the bedroom and, gently, happily remind them, is there any other place for the TV? Oh, I have to have this. And all I can do is go, okay then, you have to have it. And it's as far from what I'm thinking, but I can't read them a riot act. It's their home. It's their life. And I've learned, you want to have that kind of life? Go for it.
Are there some counteractions of people that won't change, but they want to take advantage as much as Feng Shui? If they have the TV in the room, is there some counteraction that you could do to help offset that?
It's a bit of a pain in the neck. The counteraction is drape it with, unplug it. Well, that's a bummer because these things are hard to get plugged in the first place. Unplug it and drape it with a black cloth, a thick black cloth. So that that's now if it hasn't been unplugged. So also around your bed, you don't want a lot of stuff plugged in. You don't want that digital clock. You don't want the cradle for the cell phone there. Leave your cell phone in another room when you sleep. You're not going to miss anything.
Yes, and also when people send you voice messages in the middle of the night, they ding all night long, and I've learned that, so I keep my phone in another room.
That's very disturbing, and when the spirit is disturbed, it cannot function on all 9 cylinders the next day.
I think, Elaine, sometimes people are afraid of silence.
Well, they're not afraid of it. They've become so accustomed to not having it.
Yes, that they just don't know how to really use that to their benefit and lay there, can't go to sleep because they need to be actually going with the silence and heavy breathing or whatever they need to do. Yeah. But that silence is like so foreign to them, they don't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree, and it takes about 3 days to break that pattern, actually. So, okay, you're going to be miserable for a few days, but at least you're then going to be healthy. And it's only in the silence where your creative juices start flowing again.
Exactly.
With all this noise on, they're not flowing properly.
I think that's why when people come back from a cruise and you're out there for a week, the first couple of days you're agitated because it's, you don't have all your electronic devices and you're not in tune with the world like you were. And then you get used to it. And then you come back from your 7 days and you feel like you're walking in slow motion because you've had this nice, relaxing cruise. And you've been able to get in touch with silence. You've gotten in touch with yourself. You've been able to relax without outside interference. I mean, we're multitasking all the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's now more and more articles appearing on the fact that is not for our good, really. The articles are seeping through. You've got the proponents that are very proud of the fact that they can do 12 things at the same time. A number of years ago, when I had just opened one of my stores in New Jersey, I was invited to speak at an interior design studio, and this gal had really gathered a lovely group of people to listen to me. And one of the things I started on was the danger of multitasking. Now, this would have been about 2001. A woman stood up. I thought she was going to kill me. She was so angry. She was so indignant that I was out of my mind talking against multitasking. My daughter multitasks, and she sits on her bed with her computer, and her phone's on her head, and she can do this, and she can do that. And I'm like, oh, holy mackerel. This woman was so hostile, I'll never forget it. And I've often thought, wonder what happened to that poor kid.
She's multitasking her way right into a
into
hospital, probably.
Total nervous breakdown. And then the mother will then have her put on this medication. Oh, well, let's have a tranquilizer for this. And not know why the daughter has then thrown herself off the top deck of the Empire State Building. And I actually lived up there when one gal did that.
That's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's this multitasking, this idea of let me do 800 things at once. And of course, I'm the unfortunately king of that. I'm doing way too many things simultaneously, and I recognize that that's not good. And it's truly better to focus on one thing at a time, do a good job on that, and then move on to the next, instead of doing a poor job on 12 different things.
It's just a case of reprogramming, John. It's just a case of start again. And look we're in that window. This month is such an important window to let go of. That's how I used to do it. And it's called a transition month. So it's one of those times where it's fairly easy to drop it. Some months it's almost impossible to drop and start a new thing. Not this month. This month is your friend.
Right. You only have another day or so of this month, because today being January the 30th, we need to really focus on getting that all cleaned out.
That's true. So go for it. Go for it.
Where do you fall on, I mean, when you were talking about silence a moment ago, it brought up something that I'm curious about. Throughout my homeownership life, we have had in each of the bedrooms one of those HEPA filters. And what it does, though, is it definitely creates sort of a white noise. And there have been times, it's interesting, every once in a while, I live in the South Beaches area, and we have, actually the power's been pretty good lately, but back in a few years ago, we'd have power outages fairly frequently. And the minute the power would go out, that white noise would go away. And so the proverbial silence was deafening, because we're used to having that, HEPA filter in the background. Is that considered a bad noise, as it were? Those
filters are okay. They get the thumbs up, because they do filter out a lot of.
I will say, just to follow up, I have to clean the filter regularly, and we do have pets, and there's no question they actually clean when you clean that filter, you're like, oh my goodness, what am I breathing if this weren't here? So
wow.
I am a big fan of the filter, but I was curious. And the white noise is, I think, always been beneficial to my children, but
it's very beneficial, John. I have no problem with white noise.
Okay, good. Because when you were talking silence, I'm like, wow, my kids have grown up with white noise, and I wonder if that was bad.
White is okay. That gets a pass.
Okay, good.
Well, I know in model homes, when I used to set those, I tried to really address all the senses. So I'd have music on, but softly in the background, music that was appropriate for the age group that would come in. I also had all the lights on. You have you have it smelling good with either the vanilla or the cookie smell or whatever. But I always popped popcorn. And I always had popcorn available, because that got to the sense that most people don't have, is they take the taste. And people cannot walk by a bowl of popcorn without taking a couple. And the model home got known as the popcorn home. But the point is, it was addressing all their senses. When they walked in, they didn't feel like, they had a tippy toe because there was no noise. That background music helped welcome them. And it was almost like you said, the white noise, because it didn't feel like they were imposing or something like that.
Even before you get into the house, whether you live there or whether you're going to sell it or buy it, from the curb right on up to the front door is critical to pay attention to.
Exactly.
Here's the resistance I meet on that one. Well, I never use that door. I'm like, okay, but it's the door, it's what we call the mouth of the house.
Exactly.
So it's got to be the whole pathway. If the pathway is overgrown or broken or disheveled or not in good repair, you're going to have to, you're special. You live there. Make it special for you. And then, okay, you want to sell it, it'll be ready. Well, I tell you how many times I see broken everything. The door latch, the doorbell, the lights on, either there are no lights or the lights don't work. Or I've actually been to homes where there is no walkway to the front door.
Exactly. And we've only got about 20 seconds left. I want to make sure you give out your website again, and we really appreciate you calling in. We're going to have you come on again, because there's too many things that people need to know. One more time with your website, Elaine Bartlett.
higherconsciousness.com, HIERCONSCIOUS